Heidi-ho, loyal viewers. Well, Valerian ended its release in September 21st or 27th. I'm not quite remembering the date, but its release is now over, and let's see how it did. Valerian made $224 million at the box office. The production cost of Valerian was $177 million. Leaving Valerian with a net profit at the box office. There are other revenue streams coming, but the box office profit is a profit of $47 million. Once again, Valerian made $224 million at the box office. It made $40 million of that in the United States. You may have heard 39, but that was not the final number. The final number was $40 million in the United States, $184 million for the rest of the world, for a grand total of $224 million at the box office on a production cost of $177 million. So every penny of that $177 million was paid back to the people who invested it. They got all their money back, and they got an extra $47 million profit. That's not a bomb. It's not a flop. It's not a disaster. It's not a train wreck. It's not anything that any of the so-called smart people with their YouTube channels and with their movie websites and with their newspaper columns, it's not anything that any of those smart people were saying. You want to have some fun? Go on YouTube and Google Valerian is a bomb or Valerian is a flop. And you will find all sorts of YouTube videos saying, hey, Valerian was a horrible flop and here's why. Let me in my wisdom explain it to you. Well, you and your wisdom, pal, we're wrong. You're wrong. You have a YouTube channel, a modern way of communicating, and you're stuck in 1980s dinosaur thinking. You have a dinosaur brain working a YouTube channel. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Okay? Yes, there was a time when an expensive film, a film with a high production cost, needed a big US box office if it wanted to be profitable. We call that time the history of film prior to the 1980s. That's what we call that time. You could maybe arguably say prior to then the 90s, but you could also make an argument that that worldwide box office was critically important as early as the 70s. But whenever the exact date is, the dinosaur thinking that the US box office was the be-all and end-all of box office receipts and it was necessary for a film to splash big in the US if it wanted to make a profit, and get back its high production cost. That kind of thinking is at least 20, if not 40 years out of date. The people that were telling you Valerian was a flop were way premature, beyond premature. They were reckless and irresponsible, and they were just showing their own ignorance. They felt that the story was already written, and so they wanted to get out there first and tell it. I have a video, then you can look it up on my website. Keck is Stan Lee, Lee spelled L-I. Keck, K-E-K, is Stan Lee. You can look it up, and the title of the video is Valerian is not a flop, not yet anyways. And that video I posted 1 week, possibly 2 weeks, I think 1 week after Valerian opened in the US, when it had had a disastrous opening weekend in the US and looked like it was on track to make a very, very low dollar amount in the US. I posted a video, and the title of the video is Valerian is not a flop, not yet anyways, and I explicitly said that you can't call a film a flop based on US box office receipts because it could very easily still be profitable. And I said it could very easily make a profit of $100 million. Well, it didn't make a profit of $100 million, but it could have. It made a profit of $47 million, which is a lot of money. It doesn't seem like a lot of money if you're comparing it to the $177 million they spent. But believe me, if I could magically guarantee to any studio in Hollywood that every film would cost them $177 million and every film that they made would make a profit of $47 million, they would take that deal. Because it's better to make a profit of $47 million on an investment of $177 million than it is to invest $40 or $50 million in a moderately priced film and lose it. and have it go direct to DVD, or have it just crash and burn at the box office and not make its production value back. Now, some of the people that went out on the limb and were saying it was a flop are already trying to walk that back in a cute little way. They're already trying to say, well, analysts say that it will take up to 400 million for it to break even. Well, yes, there are other costs besides production costs. And yes, there are other revenue streams besides box office. So for example, there's a marketing cost of running advertising. Offsetting that, there's a licensing revenue stream of selling licenses to people that want to produce merchandise. And by the way, if the film flops in the United States and all the people in the United States that bought licenses to produce merchandise, they can't sell their merchandise, that's too bad, because that license fee is non-refundable, and those license fees amount to millions of dollars, sometimes tens of millions of dollars. Okay, so yeah, there are other costs besides production costs. There are other revenue streams besides box office. Obviously, everyone knows they make money when they sell it to HBO, when they sell it to broadcast, when they put it on DVD, when they do all these various releases and formats for it. They make money off all that. They don't give it to you for free. They don't give it to HBO for free. So yeah, there are other costs, and the other costs could add up as high as 400 million. But there are other revenue streams. So yeah, if you want to talk about break-even point, that's just being a cute way of trying to say that you weren't wrong when you were wrong. Movies have traditionally been judged by whether or not their box office was higher than their production cost. And if your box office is higher than your production cost, you're a profitable film. That's the way Variety has judged them as long as that newspaper has been in business. That's the way the movie industry itself judges them. All the costs and revenue streams from a film, a big film like this, can be so complicated that it can take years to play out. So that's why they judge them by the box office. And there's a strong assumption that if it turned a profit at the box office, it will ultimately ultimately the other revenue streams will be higher than the other costs. That's why they judge profitability in that manner in the newspaper Variety and in other Hollywood Bibles, which is the closest thing you get to a Bible in Hollywood. So what does a profit of 47 million get you? Well, I'll tell you what an overall box office take of 224 million gets Valerian. Valerian is the 9th most successful independently produced film in the history of cinema. Number 9, in the single digits, in the top 10. It's a top 10 most successful independently produced film in the history of film. It's number 9 in the history of film, the 9th most successful independently produced film. It could have done better, but no studio is going to be unhappy if they get all their production costs back and a profit of 47 million at the box office. What that means when you have a profit of all your production costs is returned to the investors, it all comes back, plus an additional 47 million, what that means is happy studio. What that means is happy investors. What that means is not a flop, it's not a bomb, it's not a disaster or a train wreck or anything else. And every single one of you stupid motherfuckers that said Valerian was a flop, you were wrong. Furthermore, Valerian is going to follow it's a great movie and everybody should see it. And Valerian is going to follow the exact same path as one of the director's previous movies, The Fifth Element, which ultimately came to be recognized as a cult movie and has even been put back into release at least once, if not twice. I think it's been put back into release twice. Valerian is going to follow that same career path. Valerian is going to be a cult movie. Valerian is going to do merchandise in the future that it's not doing now. We didn't see any merchandise in America because the box office flopped in America. But it's still a successful film, just because it wasn't successful in America. I mean, all you xenophobes, dinosaur-brained people from the 80s may think that America is the be-all and end-all of the movie industry, but it's not. Okay? Wolf Warriors 2, a movie which has not been released outside of China, to my knowledge, has made $814 million this year. $814 million it's made in China. Does that shock you? Why would it shock you? China has a quarter of the world's population, so of course a movie can make 800 million in China. So yeah, Valerian could have done better, but it made a profit of $47 million, and that's respectable. That's respectable. You can't say that a film that does 224 million at the worldwide box office, you can't say that a $224 million film with a $47 million profit is a bomb. It's simply not. It made 224 million at the box office, and it made a nice fat profit of 47 million. And that's plenty fat. You know, we hear these big numbers all the time, but we forget that 47 million is actually a lot of money. So yeah, all you dummies with your stupid YouTube channels that pontificating about why it was such a bomb, you don't know what you're talking about. So maybe you should subscribe to my channel and get educated. Okay? And feel free to leave a comment if you want to. But everybody who hasn't seen it, who got scared off by all the talk about how horrible it was, go see it. It's actually a lot of fun. It's got some amazing special effects. And it's not a film that dumbs it down. It's a film that keeps wild and crazy things flying at you constantly. And you're going to enjoy it. So that's my I told you so video. I told you so. See you later.